So this is what I think is happening. Everybody thinks the white hats are cleaning house, draining the swamp. And from the outside looking in, that's what it appears to be. But very few people are aware of what's going on the other side of the veil. That there is in fact another cabal that is going to be taking over. See, our deep state government during the Roosevelt administration agreed with the wrong group. They sided with reptilians. And there's a lot more in the spiritual realm, as in 5D, than reptilians. But the irony in all of this is they both worship the evil one. So just like in war, since Napoleon, when a specific group of people fund both sides, not caring who wins, as long as they're both indebted to them when it's done and it's over with, and they're both bankrupt. Remember the Civil War? Just like in that case, in this case, they both work for the evil one. And I really don't think he cares who wins, because ultimately he thinks he wins. But if you're familiar with the Bible, you know how it ends. And Father Yahweh always knows the end from the beginning. Isaiah chapter 46 verses 9 through 13. Check it out. So these white hats everyone thinks is cleaning house, getting rid of all these pedophiles and just the elite overall, appears to be doing good. But again, that's because nobody knows what's coming and that they're actually working for them. See, Q-Anon, in my opinion, either knows exactly what's going to happen, as in what's on the other side of the veil approaching us, or they have no clue, and they actually think that this world is going to be a better place when the Republic is restored. But if you believe this is the end times, just remember, Yahushua was not coming to make peace. He's coming to create division with a sword. So destruction is imminent. There's no point to rebuild this place, as all the GCR and the reevaluation and Nasara and Gesara is talking about doing humanitarian projects to make this place a better world. Why would they do that? Why would we do that at all if it's going to be destroyed and not rebuilt until the 1,000-year reign of Yahushua on this planet? It doesn't make sense. So again, it's not going to get better. There's nothing to save. But it appears there is, because again, most people only know the half of it. Once again, we're allowed to see the lie while the truth remains hidden. It appears that they're doing good work, benevolent work, draining the swamp when they're cleaning house to make room. Now, President Trump, refer to chapter 45, verse 7 of Isaiah, and you'll see where it says that God creates light and dark, good and evil. President Trump is a necessary evil. He's the bridge to this eighth and final regime. Jerusalem is the embassy for America in Israel during the 70th birthday of Israel. And if you're at all familiar with Scripture, you know that once Israel was rebirthed in 1948, even though that was a Bruges as well, that was all planned. The UN, isn't it kind of odd that the UN was created right after World War II? Kind of picking up where Hitler left off. Anyway, Israel, the whole point of the Holocaust was to get rid of the Torah Jews, the real Jews, and to make room for the fake Jews. Revelation chapter 2 verse 9 and chapter 3 verse 9. I want to show you guys something regarding the 70th birthday of Israel. Now, like I said before, if you're familiar with Scripture at all, you know that Yahweh's generation for mankind is 70 years. And since 1948, we are in the last generation of mankind. Okay, so there's several reasons that 70 years is a generation. What I'm about to show you just proves how amazing Father Yahweh is. And even though the Bible has been manipulated countless times, he leaves signs and clues in the Bible, if you can find them and know what to look for, to determine that what was rebirthed in 1948 was not his regathering of his people, like we're led to believe, and like the church leads us to believe, and like our government leads us to believe. Like I said, they're the ones pushing us to support Israel 100% all the time, incessantly, because they're our best ally, when in fact they're in cahoots with who's running Israel, the Khazarian Mafia. In Jeremiah 25:11, and this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon, and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it perpetual desolation. And then if you read Jeremiah 29:10, it goes on to say, for thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished at Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place. Okay, so what those passages are referring to is that Babylon would rule Judah for 70 years. Okay, Jeremiah the prophet said that the Jews would suffer 70 years at Babylonian domination. And Jeremiah had also said that Babylon would be punished after the 70 years. Both parts of this prophecy were fulfilled. Now in 609 BC, which is about 2,600 years ago, Babylon captured the last Assyrian king and ruled over a vast part of what had been the Assyrian Empire, to which the land of Israel previously had been subjugated. Now, Babylon later asserted its dominance by taking many Jews as captives to Babylon and by destroying Jerusalem and the temple. The domination ended in 539 BC when Cyrus, a leader of Persians and Medes, conquered Babylon and brought an end to its empire. Now, Cyrus later offered the captive Jews the freedom to return to their homeland. So you can see that that prophecy has already been fulfilled. But at the same time, you have to draw parallels and see that ancient Bible prophecies reveal the future of today's nations. Just like I said, 2018 being the 70th birthday of the rebirthing, quote unquote. See the parallels? I mean, it's unbelievable that even ancient day historic biblical times parallels with modern day times and what's really going on now. And this is a perfect example of that. So the 10 lost tribes of Israel have been scattered throughout the entire world. Now, if you read Ezekiel, it explains that the Jews are not in the land of Israel today, and they will not be regathered into the land, and will not until the Lord returns. So this whole facade of Israel returning to their land in the last days is not true. Now, when the Lord returns, he will regather his people from the ends of the earth to the land of Israel, and not until then. So, who are the ones there now? Exactly, like I've been saying. Now, in Jeremiah 32:37, Father Yahweh says, I will certainly bring my people back again from all the countries where I will scatter them in my fury. I will bring them back to this very city and let them live in peace and safety. See the parallels? He's explaining what's going to happen after Armageddon, when Yahushua's millennial reign takes place on earth. And as I was saying, Father Yahweh states of the tribes of Israel, if you read Ezekiel 12:15, I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries. There's at least 7 different instances in the book of Ezekiel where Father talks about dispersing his people. Parallels with modern day. Now check this out. This will blow you away. Okay, Psalms is the 19th book in the Bible. Now, if you read chapters 47 and 48, trust me, there's no coincidence why those were specifically chapters 47 and 48 of the 19th book in the Bible. Because again, 1947 was the year the UN approved the state of Israel through the covertly agreement of the Vatican and the Rothschilds. Now, also, Psalms being the 19th book means, with there being 66 total books in the Bible, it's 47 books before Revelation. And if you know the Bible at all, you know Revelation is all about the end time events. Isn't that, I mean, that blew me away when I found that out, because I'm just like, he's leaving clues for us to know what to look for. Because even though, again, he knew the Bible was going to be manipulated, because he always knows the end from the beginning. Again, Isaiah 46, verse 9 through 13. He knows the end from the beginning, always. Now, if you read Joshua, chapter 19, verses 47 and 48, again, there's 47 and 48. No coincidence. It talks about how the tribe of Dan gets their land. Now, Dan is left out of the 144,000 in Revelation due to being consumed with idolatry, apostasies, and guile. Now, if you're not familiar with the tribes, Dan can be found in Great Britain, among other places. And from what I've heard, all royalty comes from the tribe of Dan. Because think about it, it's all about money. And it's also where the Antichrist is going to come from. The parallels, I mean, if you know what to look for, Joshua 19:48 explains who really moved in to Israel and what year it happened. Not to mention in the previous verse before that, in 47, it explains how they took the land. Just like the Khazarian Mafia took the state of Israel when it was assumed to be a rebirthing of Israel. And like I said, these are all clues Father leaves so we know what's really going on in Israel today. In 1948, that was all scripted. It was all part of their evil, malicious, satanic plan. Again, that was the real reason for the Holocaust, to get rid of the real Torah Jews so the fake Jews could move in. I just thought that was amazing when I read that, and just see how many clues he leaves for his children to find in the Bible, even though it's been manipulated. And you say, well, how could it be infallible if it's been manipulated? Because he still compensates for all the changes that have been made, because he knows the end from the beginning. When I show this chart right here of how dispersed the Holocaust deaths were, people are going to say, well, how come the state of Israel, the people there, aren't on here? Well, it's because during the World War II era, Jews didn't live in Israel. See, if you look at this timeline, which is really cool, I'm glad I found it. And before I forget, I want to give credit to travelingisrael.com. This is their timeline. You can see at the top right here, in 1000 BC, before Christ era, was King Solomon. And that's when the first temple was built, with his two pillars, Boaz and Yaakam. And you can see that it was predominantly a Jewish religion. But go down the timeline, the next one is Babylonian. And if you recall what we had just talked about, this is the era where Judah was captured by Babylon for 70 years, between 609 and 539 BC. And that's the time when the Solomon's Temple, the first temple, was destroyed in 586 BC. And right next to that in the timeline, this is where Cyrus the Great conquered Babylon, as the prophecy said that Babylon would be punished after capturing Judah for 70 years. And then you see Persian is the next one, and that's the polytheism religious era. And then Alexander the Great, the Hellenistic era. And you keep going all the way around here, and here's the birth of quote-unquote Jesus. Everybody knows, but his real name is Yahushua. Jesus wasn't fabricated until the KJV came out in 1611. Anyway, and then you come down here and you see the Constantine converts to Christianity. Yet another rouge is the Byzantine era, and that's primarily Christian. And this is when Christianity started. Well, I should correct myself. It's when the Christianity that we know today, for the last 1,500 years, basically Paul's religion, is when that started. This is the era when the Pauline doctrines started to overtake the doctrines of Yahushua, which was called the Way. It wasn't called Christianity. Christianity was fabricated by Paul. And that's what our churches 2,000 years later today are filled with. Apostasies, guile, idolatry, primarily in the Roman Catholic Church, which is the granddaddy of all of Christianity. And that's what Constantine started in 312 AD
ultimately following in Paul's footsteps. And then you see here's the Islam power that changes in the land of Israel. It's not Israel, it's just the land where Israel lies. That's the Arab Caliphate. And if you go all the way down to the bottom, and here the state of Israel in 1948 becomes the state of Israel thanks to the good old UN. But look who dominated the land before that, and ultimately during the World War II era and the Holocaust, the British Mandate. And who did I just say the Britons were? The tribe of Dan, the royal family, the Rothschilds. So one thing a lot of people don't realize is 90% of the people that live in Israel today are not Jewish or have Jewish blood. They're Satanists. They're secretly, oh, we'll give them back the land and they'll make it look all nice and have a fuzzy warm moment, and they'll think we're such great for doing it. And meanwhile, they're dominating the land and they're just hiding in plain sight, worshiping Satan. Now, if you go back to the pie chart, you can see that the Soviet had 20% prisoners of war, Soviet Jews. Belarus and Ukraine, there was 20% of Jews there that were in the Holocaust. But you're not going to find anybody from the land of Israel here because Israel did not exist at that time. And here is a map of then and now, so you can see the then on the left, there is no Israel. But the now shows there's an Israel. That's what I'm talking about when I say Israel didn't exist from 1000 BC era with King Solomon until 1948. But again, and I cannot stress this enough, it is not the Israel that we are led to believe it is. As far as Father Yahweh is concerned, Israel hasn't returned, not until he regathers his people after Armageddon. But again, that's the reason for the Holocaust.
Get rid of the real Jews so the fake Jews could move in and pretend like Netanyahu's been doing this whole time. So that's what they've been waiting for. And Christians think there has to be a temple built in Jerusalem before anything else can happen. And Russia is going to have a war with Israel before anything can happen. But they don't realize that they've been led incorrectly on purpose. So when the RFID chip is demanded, people are going to say that can't be the mark of the beast because the other things haven't happened yet. So I'll go ahead and get it. Not knowing that the RFID chip is going to alter your DNA. See, this whole Gesera Nasera thing, it sounds really good. Money for everybody, debt forgiveness, all that good stuff, right? Well, what if I told you that you couldn't access your money, that you're going to have newfound wealth unless you had the chip, the mark of the beast? Because Gesera is the beast economic system. And I learned that from Sherry Schreiner as well. She was the only one saying anything bad about Nasera. She has a website called naserasucks.com. I was intrigued. I had to check it out for myself because, again, she was the only one I could find talking badly about it. So why would that be? The only person talking badly about a good thing, presumably. Exactly. So imagine my surprise when I read in on it and what she was talking about and found out that it's a trap. The GCR is a trap to get people to have to commit to the chip in order to access their money. Because everything's going digital. There's not going to be any paper money in the near future. And these FEMA camps that everyone thinks are going to be wasted because all these cabal elites are being arrested and sent to Gitmo? What if I told you that they're still going to be used by Christians? Because the other cabal is going to make use of them. And we're only led to believe right now that those idiots made their own prisons. Not true. They're still going to be used to get rid of Christians. And most everyone's going to have to stick around to be refined, to prove their faith to Father Yahweh, and be martyrs through beheadings. And that's best case scenario, assuming you're not tortured. But if they drag you out of your house, don't go with them. It's better to be shot dead where you stand than go to FEMA camps. Because either way, you're proving your faith to Father Yahweh by not getting the chip. And it won't be enforced right away, but it will be eventually. And you won't be able to buy or sell without it. Just like the Bible says. So just know everything that we see isn't what it is. Because again, we are allowed to see the lie as long as Lucifer
is permitted by Father Yahweh to run this world.
and the truth remains hidden. So remember that when you look around and you wonder if something's up, what's going on.